Most people waste their first $1,000 before they even spend it. Not because they buy the wrong stock, because they ask the wrong question. They ask, what should I buy? But honestly, that's not where I'd start. The better question is, what job does this money need to do? Because depending on your situation, that same $1,000 can do 3 completely different things. It can stop the bleeding, it can protect you from getting knocked off track, or it can start building wealth. Now, before we go deeper, drop a comment right now. If you had $1,000 today, would you use it for debt, savings, or investing? Because if you do those in the wrong order, you can feel like you're making progress while you're actually falling behind. That's the trap. And it's why 2 people can start with the same $1,000 and end up in completely different places. The difference usually is not the perfect stock, it's the order. And I learned that lesson the hard way. Back in October 2008, I moved my own retirement money out of the market and into a stable value fund right before the recovery started. I told myself I was being responsible. Really, I was scared. I just gave the fear a more professional sounding name. That one decision cost me growth I never got back. So I'm not talking to you like some perfect finance robot who never made emotional money decisions. I've made them too. And after years around retirement accounts like 401ks, 403bs, and 457 plans, I've watched regular people make the same kind of mistake over and over. Most people don't mess up because they picked one imperfect fund. They mess up because they do the right things in the wrong order. So let's make the order simple. If you texted me and said, I've got my first $1,000, what should I do with it? I would not ask what stock you're thinking about. I'd ask 3 things. Do you have credit card debt? Do you have any emergency money? And when do you need this $1,000 back? Those 3 answers decide almost everything. So before we talk about ETFs, we have to talk about the thing that quietly destroys beginners first: high interest debt. If you're carrying a credit card balance at 20, 25, or 30%, investing is not your first move. I know that answer sucks. Nobody wants their first wealth building move to be go pay the credit card. That doesn't feel like investing. It feels like cleaning up a mess. But cleaning up the mess is the wealth building move. $1,000 sitting on a credit card at 25% interest costs you about $250 a year. That same $1,000 earning 8% in the market makes about $80 a year. So you're trying to win 80 while losing 250. That math is bullying you. It's like filling a bucket while there's a hole in the bottom. You can keep pouring money in, but the leak keeps winning. That's why paying off high interest debt is not falling behind. It's not boring. It's not less advanced. It's a guaranteed return that most investments cannot touch. So rule 1 is simple. If high interest debt is eating you alive, your first $1,000 goes there before it ever touches a brokerage account. Not because investing is bad, because the order matters. Now here's the part people skip because it sounds boring, but it's what keeps your investing plan alive. Emergency money. And I'm not talking about a perfect 6-month emergency fund. I'm not saying you need some giant pile of cash before you invest a single dollar. I'm talking about a basic cushion so one bad week doesn't wreck your whole plan. Because life does not care that you just started investing. Your car breaks down, your hours get cut, your phone cracks, a bill hits at the worst possible time. And if every dollar you have is locked in stocks, now you're forced to sell when you didn't want to sell. Then the market drops, then life happens, then you sell at a loss. Then you tell yourself investing doesn't work. But investing was not the problem. The timeline was, money you might need soon does not belong in the market. It belongs somewhere boring and easy to grab, like a high-yield savings account. Even regular savings is better than having nothing. Because the goal of emergency money is not to get rich. The goal is to not get wrecked. That money keeps one annoying week from turning into a long-term setback. So if you have 0 savings, I would not throw the whole 1,000 into stocks just to feel like an investor. I'd split it, maybe 500 into the cushion, 500 into the investing habit. That's not falling behind. That's building the floor before you stack bricks. Because without the floor, the first problem that hits you can knock the whole thing over. Once the debt is handled and you have some cushion, now investing finally makes sense. And this is where beginners usually make it way too complicated. You do not need the perfect stock. You do not need to predict the next crash. You do not need a secret strategy from some guy standing in front of a rented car telling you to join his Discord. For most beginners, the best first move is boring on purpose. Something broad, something simple, something you can keep buying without turning investing into a second job. That's the idea behind broad market ETFs like Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF or Vanguard's Total Stock Market ETF. One follows the S&P 500. The other covers the total United States stock market. The idea is simple. You are not trying to guess which one company wins. You are trying to own a piece of the whole game. And if $1,000 earned an 8% average annual return over about 40 years, it could grow to around $21,000. That does not mean it happens in a straight line. It won't. Some years will be ugly. Some years will feel boring. Some years will make you think you're a genius. Some years will make you question everything. But that's the point. Your first $1,000 is not really about the $1,000. It's about who you become after you invest it. You stop being someone who thinks about investing. You become someone who invests. That sounds small, but it matters. Because once you have skin in the game, your questions change. You stop asking, should I start? And you start asking, how do I keep going? That's where the real money is. Not in one perfect move, in repeated boring moves. But this is where beginners usually create a brand new problem. They turn investing into entertainment, random stocks, options, day trading, whatever's exploding on social media this week. And and before they know it, they're not investing anymore. They're chasing a dopamine hit with money attached. That is especially dangerous now because everything around us is built for fast feedback, fast videos, fast games, fast wins, fast opinions. But real investing does not feel like a kill streak. Most of the time, it feels like nothing is happening, and that's the part beginners have to get used to. If your plan needs excitement to work, it is probably not a plan. It's a hobby wearing a costume. Now, if you want a little more growth, you can use a simple split. This is not financial advice, but if it were me, I would keep most of the money in something broad, like Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF or Vanguard's Total Stock Market ETF, and then put a smaller piece into something more growth-focused, like Invesco's NASDAQ 100 ETF or Schwab's United States Large Cap Growth ETF. The point is not to gamble. The point is to keep the foundation strong while giving yourself a little more upside. But that smaller growth piece needs rules. No options, no leverage, no meme stocks, no I saw a screenshot and now I'm inspired. That 20% is still investing. It is not permission to act stupid. Because here's what most people don't admit. A lot of beginners don't quit investing because they're scared. They quit because they're bored. They buy the boring ETFs, nothing crazy happens, then they go looking for action. And action is usually where beginners get hurt. So keep the first 1,000 simple. Boring protects you from yourself. Now let's talk about cash, because this one tricks almost everyone. Cash feels safe because the number does not move. If your checking account says $1,000 today, it probably says $1,000 tomorrow. So emotionally, it feels like nothing bad happened. But the number on the screen is not the same thing as buying power. Rent moves, groceries move, gas moves, insurance moves. And your banking app does not flash red to warn you that your money is slowly losing strength. That's the silent leak. So yes, cash still has a job. You should keep your emergency money safe, boring, and easy to reach. But once you have enough cash for emergencies, stacking too much extra cash can quietly work against you. And this is where the first $1,000 becomes more important than people think, because it teaches you how you actually behave when your own money moves. Watching investing videos is easy. Saying I'm long-term is easy. Telling yourself you'll buy the dip is easy. But when your own account goes red, it hits different. Now you start checking the app, now you start questioning yourself, now you start wondering if you should sell and wait things out. That is the real test. Not whether the market drops, it will. The test is whether a normal drop turns into a permanent mistake. I've watched this pattern play out for years in retirement accounts. People wait on the sidelines for the perfect moment, then the market keeps going. Then when it finally drops, they're too scared to buy anyway, so they wait again. They think they're being careful. Most of the time, they're just reacting late. And beginners do the same thing in brokerage accounts. They chase what just went up, they panic after things go down, they wait when they should start. And they quit before the habit has time to work. That's why learning this with $1,000 is actually useful. A 10% drop on $1,000 is $100. A 10% drop on $100,000 is 10 grand. Same percentage, completely different gut check. So if you do not train that muscle while the numbers are small, the bigger numbers later can mess with your head. Now here's what I would absolutely not do with my first $1,000. I would not trade options. You've seen the screenshot of someone turning $300 into $8,000. You have not seen the hundreds of people who got wiped out trying the same thing. The win gets posted, the blow up usually doesn't. Options move fast. They're heavily leveraged. And for most beginners, they train the wrong behavior. They teach you to chase excitement instead of building a system. Same thing with day trading. Ask yourself why so many day traders are selling a course instead of just quietly printing money. If the strategy worked that easily, they probably would not need your $49 a month. I also would not put the full 1,000 into one random stock because someone online sounded confident. Confidence is not evidence, a good story is not a strategy, and a trending stock is not a financial plan. Honestly, getting lucky early can be worse than losing, because if you gamble and win, you think it was skill, then you do it again with more money. And eventually the market teaches you the lesson you skipped the first time. So keep the first 1,000 boring. Boring is not the enemy. Boring is the guardrail. When you pick a platform, keep that simple too. Low fees, fractional shares, automatic investing. That's what matters. Low fees matter because fees are one of the few things you actually control. Fractional shares matter because if you have $25, you should be able to put $25 to work. You should not have to wait until you can afford one full share. And automatic investing matters because motivation is unreliable. Some months you feel locked in, some months you don't. Automation removes the monthly argument. The decision is already made. The habit keeps running. So here's the blueprint that I followed when I was in your shoes. Step 1, check your credit cards. If you're carrying high interest debt, kill that first. That is your highest guaranteed return. Step 2, check your cushion. If you have nothing saved, build a basic emergency floor before you throw everything into the market. Step 3, once debt and your cash cushion are handled, invest long-term money into something simple and broad, like Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF or Vanguard's Total Stock Market ETF. Step 4, if you want extra growth, keep it controlled. Maybe 80% broad market, 20% growth. No options, no leverage, no gambling. Step 5, set up the next contribution before you close the app. $25 a week. $50 a paycheck, $100 a month. The amount matters less than the repeat. That repeat is what turns the first $1,000 from a one-time move into a system. So don't just ask, what should I buy? Ask the better question. What job does this money need to do? If it needs to stop the bleeding, pay the debt. If it needs to protect you, save it. If it is long-term money, invest it. But do not leave it sitting in confusion. Confused money turns into wasted money. Before you move that money, grab the simple first $1,000 checklist in the description. It walks you through the order step by step so you do not guess, overthink it, or put the money in the wrong place. Debt, cushion, invest, automate, that is the whole game. Because your first $1,000 is only too small if you treat it like a lottery ticket, leave it sitting because you are scared, or never add another dollar after it. But if it becomes the first brick of a system, it is massive. Nobody builds a house complaining that the first brick is not big enough. They lay the brick, then another. That is how wealth works. Give your money a job, build the system, automate the next step, and let time do what time does. Not overnight, not perfectly. Just repeated boring decisions most people are too impatient to make. And in the next video, we need to talk about something bigger. America is walking into a financial crisis, but the answer is not panic, fear, or doom and gloom nonsense. The answer is understanding what is actually happening, what it means for your money, and how to prepare before everyone else starts reacting emotionally. So if you want calm, no BS finance breakdowns without the guru garbage, subscribe to Max Stats Finance. Because the goal is not to get scared. The goal is to get ready. I'll see you in the next one.